Good evening, all. Welcome to the online platform of SR. Today, our session is scheduled for the MCOM students, fourth semester. The topic we'll be handling is risk management. To handle this session, we have with us Dr. Nimi Devi R, Assistant Professor of Commerce, Government College for Women, Trivandrum. She's a PhD holder in the topic Marketing Strategies Adopted by Tourism Industry in South India, a comparative study between Kerala and Tamil Nadu. I would also like to mention that she's a first rank holder in MCOM from Kerala University. Before the start of the session, I would like to notice our participants. All your queries regarding the session can be asked in the Q&A tab on your screen. I repeat, you can see a Q&A tab on your screen. All your queries can be typed in there, and the same will be addressed by Dr. Nimi towards the end of our 1 hour session. Thank you, and over to you, ma'am.
Welcome all. I do consider it as a great opportunity to address you with the help of the SAP online learning platform. Today, we are going to discuss about the module Risk Management, which is coming under Semester 4 MCOM degree course, where it is dealing with risk management on the risk management and its impact. The contents for this session include risk management, the objective management, the process in which the risk can be managed, what are the different tools of risk management, and what are the changing scope of risk management in the present day world, the benefits, what is personal risk management, the steps in personal risk management, governance, risk management and compliance, and finally, insurance market dynamics. First of all, before saying about risk management, what is actually risk? We know that in our daily life, we come across different situations. For example, if you are traveling by a two-wheeler, you always have a fear that there can be something happening to me, maybe an accident or something or the other. So this is actually an example of a risk situation which may arise in any time of your life. Similarly, the present situation that we are experiencing, which is COVID-19, where we were forced to sit in our houses, engage in different types of activities, find out different alternatives that are available. So first of all, we'll see what is risk management. Risk management is actually identifying what is the loss exposure that is faced by an organization. Now, in the previous example, what is actually the loss exposure? It is the accident that a person will have to face. May happen, it may not happen. If something happens, how can we minimize the risk? Now, it is very difficult to say that how we can minimize the risk, but we can always say that we can take some safety precautions can be taken in order to minimize the risk. So what is actually a loss exposure? A loss exposure is any situation where the loss is possible whether there is a loss or not. That means, as we have seen in the previous one, if can be, an example can be theft of property. We always fear that there will be some person will be stealing something from us, or maybe when the employees are doing work at the workplace, they may be facing some type of an injury, or maybe it can be in the form of a company offering defective product. If we refer to the example of Nestle Maggie, where we were very much familiar, but what happened was that there was some type of defect in the contents, and it was actually challenged. There was a lawsuit, and after that they came back. So it is actually a loss exposure situation and how they face the situation. The essence of risk management. We'll go on to the definition of risk management. Risk management is actually identification, analysis. How do you analyze it? You just try to find out what is actually the problems, how it type of risk is it. That is how you analyze. Then you measure the risk. What is the amount of risk that is involved? How can we control the risk? How can we avoid the risk? Maybe this time I have incurred a risk. Next time I will try to avoid it or try to minimize it or eliminate it unacceptable risk. This is one of the acceptable definition of risk management. So the essence of risk management includes all these things: identification, identify the risk, assess the risk, find out the risk, reduce the risk, and finally accept it. So that is the essence of risk management. Even though we say that you can identify it, you can assess it, you can reduce it, and you can accept it, it may not be the same in all the cases, because there are certain risks which we cannot reduce or which we cannot eliminate. Maybe we can say that the burden of risk can be reduced to a certain extent, but it can never be eliminated. For example, if you lose the life of a person, you insure the life of a person, but the death of a person, it is actually a loss. Now, we are going to see what are the objectives of risk management. We have seen what is risk management. Why risk management? Why? What is actually the essential or what is the reason for risk management? Because there is risk involved, and that is why we are always concerned about risk management. So one of the objectives for risk management is pre-loss objectives, and another factor is post-loss objective. What is pre-loss objective? Suppose you incur a risk. The risk can be economically handled, or you can reduce the anxiety. If you have a fear, maybe something will happen to me at any time. So there is an anxiety, there is a fear that is caused, or maybe you feel that you will have to meet a legal obligation. Now that is applicable for a company. When a company deals with a product, the company will always be concerned about how they will be able to meet the legal obligation, whether my product is up to the quality or not. So this is actually the most economical way in which you can deal with the pre-loss objectives. One is you will have to, when you take an insurance policy, you will have to anyway pay the premium. You cannot say that something should happen to me. Even if something happened to me also, the risk can be reduced. So that is actually the cost that I pay, the insurance premium that I will be paying. For example is, suppose that there is a factory and there are a lot of employees working in the factory. So some safety programs are to be installed. Or we'll take this example where because of the COVID-19, most of the public places, we find a liquid soap available or a sanitizer available where we can wash our hands and then enter. So that can be treated as a safety program, which is an economical one. It is not, the cost involved is not much more, because it is pre-loss objective. The loss has not occurred. Then the second one is reduction of anxiety. We always see in the case of Nestle, they may always have a fear that there can be any type of a lawsuit. So they will take maximum effort to make sure that the product is up to the quality. Then the third one is meeting any legal obligation. That means in the case of two-wheelers, the government insists that the two-wheelers riders will have to wear helmet. Or in the case of people who are driving four-wheel, then they will have to wear the seat belt. So it is actually what you're supposed to observe. It may not be much costly to buy a helmet. Only thing is you can save your life. Then similarly, disposal of waste. Trivandrum Corporation has provided number of dustbins where you can put your waste. where it should not be polluting the environment. So this is actually an example of a pre-loss objective. Another objective of risk management is post-loss objectives. Now, if you look at post-loss objective, the loss has already incurred. In the case of pre-loss, the loss is we are expecting a loss. But in the case of post-loss, there can be a chance of loss. So what are the post-loss objectives? One is survival. That means this should go on. After lockdown, what next? This should go on because you cannot tie up with whatever has happened. The life should go on. So it should be resuming within the reasonable time. Second one is continuity benefits. That means whatever happens, whatever problem arises, the customers are finally to be served. Then, if you have a problem, if you have a risk, maybe you have lost, you are incurring losses for several years, you feel that it is not profitable to continue. But the only thing is, you will have to continue the operations without increase in the cost. That means you may not be earning profit, but at least you can have an earning stability. There should be a stability in the income. Then a very, very important role is social responsibility. That is, nowadays what we are observing is actually as a part of social responsibility, because we want to be good citizens. We want to be known as good citizens, and that is why all over the world, Kerala is being proclaimed as a place where people are abiding the law, people are good citizens. So it is a social responsibility. Once the loss has occurred, we are supposed to continue. Then another one is continued growth. Suppose if one, as we have seen in the case of mergers of banks, why these mergers? Because we find that some of the banks may not be performing up to the mark, so it will be absorbed by another bank, which is having a whole major chunk of the share in the market, so they can continue. They can have a continued growth. So these are actually the contents of post-loss objectives. So mainly, objectives of risk management include pre-loss as well as post-loss. Next. How do you continue with the management of risk? Or what are the different stages in which you can manage risk? That is the next topic. The stages in risk management are, first one is risk identification. That means you will have to identify what is actually the risk. Where does the risk come from? That is what you will have to identify. The second one is, how can I measure the risk? Whether the risk can be measured, whether we can quantify the risk, or what is actually the amount of risk, how it will be affecting my life, or maybe the corporate, the companies. Then third one is controlling it. Controlling can be either, it can be reduction, or in some cases, it can be elimination. As we have seen in the case of wearing helmet, maybe where suppose if an accident occurs, it may not be because of not wearing helmet or something like that, but it is always taken as a precaution. So it can be reduction or elimination. And finally, how do you find out the funding for facing the risk? So I'll repeat, the risk management process, it consists of these stages: identification of risk, measure the risk, and evaluate the risk. What is actually the amount of risk involved? Control through reduction. Either you try to reduce it or eliminate it. And finally, fund it. First of all, risk identification. Whenever you look at management of risk, this is actually the key to the whole process, because there are so many resources involved in an organization. It can be human resources, it can be finance, it can be relating to the environment, because any company is responsible to its stakeholders, and stakeholders consist of customers, the banks, then similarly the society in which we are operating. So how to identify these risks? One of the type of identifying the risk, whether the company is running at a profit or not, it is analyzing the financial report. The simple way is analyzing the financial report. Then, whether the human resources are satisfied in the organization or not. The best way is have meetings. Try to find out what are the problems that they are facing, or do they have any problem at the workplace, or conduct inspections, whether the machines are working properly or not. Similarly, any type of a contract which is entered into by the company with outsiders to make sure that there is no problem in the future. Then finally, finding out what is the loss that has incurred in the past, because we are always concerned about past, then only we'll be thinking about the future. So what happened in the past, then we try to rectify the mistake. So that is one of the stages in risk management process, that is risk identification. Next, the next step is measuring the risk and evaluation of the risk. The major chunk of measurement of risk is actually projecting the frequency and the severity. That means how frequently the risk have been incurred. Referring to the previous one, we have seen analyzing about the historical loss experience. That means what is the loss that is incurred in the past, whether the same loss or same reason is being repeated. So frequency. And similarly, what is actually the severity, how much we will have to suffer because of the risk, and that is considered as very, very important. Now, when you consider about there can be three types of risk. Mainly, there can be three types of risk. One is property risk, another one is personal risk, and another one is liability risk. So, property risk, we always look at whatever is the risk that is affected by the property. We always consider the probable maximum loss. What is the maximum loss that is incurred? Now, the maximum loss is always, if you file a case, then what is actually the maximum compensation that you will be getting? It depends on what is the prevailing law. Then similarly, the ability of the competency of the lawyers, because it depends on the lawyers whether they are able to get the compensation or not. Now, when you measure the risk, there are certain tools that are used for measuring risk. If you can refer to what you have learned in semester 3, security analysis and portfolio management, there you might have seen about how risk can be measured. One of the method in which you can measure the risk is total risk is standard deviation. But in management of risk, here we are not concerned about probability or standard deviation, but especially in the case of portfolios. The main factor that is considered is, which you have already learned, that is beta. Because beta is considered as a method or as a measure for risk. Next, risk control. We have seen earlier itself, the risk can be controlled through either reducing it or eliminating it. So elimination or reduction. How? Suppose you know that there can be a chance of an earthquake in a place. Why construct in that particular area? Why we are knowing that there will be a natural calamity in that particular area, avoiding construction in the environmentally fragile areas. That is actually a method of elimination. Another one is preventing the loss. Say, for example, you feel that your property, there will be a theft of property. Install security cameras. That is the best thing to be done. Another one, people do not know maybe how to use a machine in the factory. So tell them how to make use of it. So it is an instruction given to the workers to use the machines. Then another risk can be the financial risk. Financial risk can be reduced through hedging, and that is where derivatives play an important role. With the help of the derivatives like forward, future, option, and swap, we'll be able to hedge the risk, and that is the basic purpose behind derivatives. Next, another risk is legal liability risk. A legal liability risk, as I have already pointed out, there can be property risk, there can be personal risk, there can be legal liability risk. The legal liability risk can be you are offering a product and it should not be polluting the environment, reduce pollutants, then give awareness programs to safeguard the environment. Similarly, safe products produce, how you can maybe in this stage, if we want to, if we are not able to get mask when we go out, how to make mask at home, which is not maybe that which should not be detrimental to the environment. It should be with such a safe product it shall be made. So that is risk control. Then risk finance. In finance, whenever you want to fund anything, the basic thing is prepare a financial plan. How this risk management objectives are to be met. We have already seen what are the risk management objectives. Basically, the objectives are, one is pre-loss and post-loss. So you will have to prepare a financial plan. How much risk we'll have to retain and how the risk can be transferred. What is the risk to be taken for this year? Maybe if you can transfer it to next year, how much you can transfer, and maintain a provision, earmark funds in order to meet the loss in the future. So this is with regard to the different stages in risk management. So the main steps in risk management are, first of all, risk identification, risk measurement, then risk control, and risk finance. Next is, what are the tools that are used for managing the risk? Risk can be managed with the help of MIS, Management Information System. That is one technique. Another one is by risk management intranets as well as websites. Look at the intranets as well as websites, or construct maps, risk maps, or maybe find out what is the extent of loss with the help of value at risk analysis. And the last one is catastrophic modeling. Something happens, some unexpected event happens. What type of risk that we will have to incur? What is the alternative that is available? So these are the different tools for risk management. We are going to see the first one. The first you might have learned in information system that information you can store and you can get the information whenever and it will be used to predict about the future. For example, if you want to get an account of what is the total asset and what are the liabilities. Similarly, tracking employees. Suppose if something happens, how many employees are there? You don't know about, if you do not know about the number of employees, then you will find it very difficult. So you should have an idea of how many employees, who all are working in that particular area, what will be their risk. So this is a risk management information system. Next, risk management intranets and websites. What is actually an intranet? An intranet is actually a website which will be having limited search capabilities, where only people who are interested, or for the limited people, the available information will be given. So that means, suppose if employees want to know about a particular thing in the factory, they'll be getting a list of what are the procedures to be followed, along with the forms will be given to them. So whatever information that will be made available. It can be like in the form of a blog, or it can be in the form of a website where there will be a space for the employees where they can record their opinion, or maybe they can post their opinion. So that is risk management, intranets and websites. Next, another tool for risk management is mapping the risk. Actually, mapping means what? Whatever you find out, you're just plotting it. That is what is called as mapping it. So risk map is actually a grid. Grids means what? Lines. So these are lines detailing, as we have seen earlier itself, in the case of risk management, what is we are mostly concerned about? The frequency as well as the severity. How much frequent is the risk and what is the extent of risk? Uh, how much the risk is affecting the person? It is measured in the form of grid lines, and whatever is the risk will be plotted on the map. Maybe PG students will be very much familiar with this when they see this, because we have questionnaires where we give options to comment on, and these options that they will be commenting on, and finally we can list it as a table. But here it is like a map where grid lines are showing different consequences and the likelihood of its occurrence. That is an example of a risk map. Another tool is value at risk analysis. This is actually similar to what you have seen in quantitative techniques in the second semester, where you have learned about normal distribution. That is, whenever we feel that we have an expected return, we'll be earning a return. Maybe there will be a difference, or there will be a variation in the return that we expect. What is here we are connecting it to the risk. What is the loss that is likely to occur at a different period of time with a certain level of confidence? We can say that with this much level, maybe 95% level of confidence, I can say that this will be the risk that we will be facing in the future. So this is a value at risk analysis. One of the example of how value at risk analysis is plotted is just like how you plot the normal distribution, where with how much confidence level you can prove that it can be controlled, or what will be the risk. Next is catastrophic modeling. Catastrophe means what? Catastrophe is something which can be maybe unpredictable, maybe suddenly happening. There are certain methods that are available in order to estimate the losses that can incur or that can occur due to the catastrophic event. It is like earthquake. What do you normally do? You normally find that what is actually the level of the impact of the earthquake. You look at the seismic data, then meteorological data, you want to know about what is the weather. Then similarly, income. When we survey is conducted, where we want to find out what is actually the impact on the, maybe here in the case of COVID-19, what is the impact of this catastrophic event on the income of the people of Kerala? And that can be considered as a catastrophic modeling method. It is also maybe a computer assisted method where you can estimate the losses. So we were seeing about the different tools for risk management. So till now we have seen about what is risk management, what are the objectives of risk management, similarly the different steps in risk management, tools of risk management. Next is, now risk management is changing its scope. How it is changing, that we are going to see now. Risk management, why it is changing? Because it has a limited scope, because we are only concerned, as we have seen in the first slide itself, risk management is concerned with loss exposures, identifying the loss exposures. And we have seen earlier itself property risk, personal risk, and liability risk. One of the changing scope of risk management is, one is financial risk management, and the other one is enterprise risk management. First is, in financial risk management, one of the risks is commodity price risk, which we normally know, because the price of commodity will be the price of tomato today may not be the same tomorrow because there can be a change in the price. So the commodity prices fluctuate. There is a commodity price risk involved. That is actually part of financial risk management, and that is the area where there is a relevance for commodity derivatives, because how you can tide over the risk or how you can hedge the risk. Second one is interest rate risk. Normally, there is always a change in the interest rates, which we normally have whenever we take finance. That is a risk management, which is concerned with financial risk management. And especially in international finance, exchange rate risk plays a major role, because whenever you trade among countries, there is always a risk of fluctuations in the exchange rate. So one of the change that has come across in risk management is financial risk management. And the other one, as I have already stated, it is enterprise risk management. Enterprise risk management is concerned with pure risk, strategic risk, and operational risk. Here, actually, pure risk means the financial risk that we normally have, and strategic operational risk, something different. Strategic risk is actually the uncertainty regarding the financial goals. That means whether we'll be able to achieve our the expected return or not. That is actually the uncertainty. Or maybe whether we'll be able to attain the first position among the competitors. That is a strategic risk. Operational risk can be whether we'll be able to make profit in the day-to-day basis or not. And financial risk is actually, we have already seen, commodity risk, interest rate risk, as well as exchange rate risk. So it is a enterprise risk management, means it is an overall risk management. Financial risk management means it is concerned only with the financial part of managing the risk. So we have seen now the changing scope of risk management. Next, why risk management, or what are the benefits of risk management? As we have seen in the objective itself, it is pre-loss and post-loss. Both type of losses are attainable. Risk management objectives are attainable, and most of them are measurable also. So that is one of the benefits of risk management. And similarly, whenever we try to reduce the cost of risk, that is how, suppose if we know that there can be the loss of goods, maybe by when you are shipping the goods. So you take marine insurance. So it is a way in which you reduce the cost of risk. Or maybe you know that you want there will be a change in the price of the share. So you agree into an agreement that you want to buy the share immediately or at the current price, which will be exchanged in the future. So that is a cost of risk can be reduced, which will be increasing the profitability of a company. Cost of risk, as I have told you, in the case of shipping goods, it can be the insurance premium that you pay for marine. Then similarly, any type of retained losses that you have so many losses, maybe the guarantee that you have given, or maybe the administrative cost. What is the extra cost that you will have to incur that you can control? If you can control the cost, definitely there will be an increase in profit. Then another one is design an enterprise risk management program. Why? Because enterprise risk management is concerned about both your, that is covering every type of risk, that is pure, strategic, and operational risk. That means both pure risk as well as speculative risk. Then what is actually another benefit of risk management is it is beneficial to the society. Why? Because you can reduce the loss, you can reduce the pain or suffering. See, why do you take life insurance? The basic idea behind taking life insurance is you want to protect your family. It may not be, maybe the benefit will not be enjoyed by yourself, but it will be enjoyed by your family members. So you don't want them to suffer if something happens to you. So that is actually reducing the pain, reducing the suffering. So that is another benefit of risk management. So to sum up, it is all the losses can be attained, the cost of risk can be reduced, and thereby increase in profits. Similarly, an enterprise program, risk management program can be designed where you can control different levels of risk. Then similarly, it is beneficial to the society as the what do you call as the level of pain or the suffering can be reduced. Next, personal risk management. Now, it is not actually risk management as such. It is personal risk management because actually this risk management comes as a topic in insurance, but it is included in the first two modules of risk management and derivatives. So it is just touching over about personal risk management. What is actually personal risk management, or what is personal risk? Something which is affecting a person or maybe a family, a group of members. That is actually personal risk. And how do you identify it and how you try to reduce it? That is what is called as personal risk management. What are the steps in personal risk management? Steps in personal risk management are identify loss exposures, identify the loss, analyze the loss, select certain methods to treat the loss, try to reduce it next time. So these are the different steps in personal risk management. I repeat, it is to identify, to analyze, select techniques, and finally implement and review. First of all, what is the first step in personal risk management? It is identify the loss exposures. Identifying loss exposure which is causing a serious problem. What type of problem can be the case? It can be in the form of a personal loss. It can be in the property loss. It can be liability loss. It can be income loss also. So it is personal loss, property, liability, and income. So find out what is the type of a loss exposure. If you refer to the first one, first slide itself, what is loss exposure? Loss exposure is something which is relating to a loss, which may occur, which may not occur. We know that there is a possibility of loss. So personal loss exposure. Suppose something happens to the head of the family, then there is a loss of earnings. So how the survivors, how the family members, they will be facing the situation. Then what happens because of that? There will be insufficient income or because of the death of the person. It can also happen when a person retires from service. The person was getting a regular or maybe a stable income, but when he retires, he may not be getting that much. It may not be sufficient. Then similarly, something happens to the person. After retirement, if something happens to the person, then he will have to meet his medical bills. There is a loss of earnings, but at the same time, there are extra medical bills also. Then another one is unemployment. The person is thrown out of employment because of some or the other reasons. It is a personal loss exposure. Then you always see identity theft because people trying to imitate or maybe in place of somebody else. So there can be a person. The problem with identity theft, which we normally see in social media. Another one is workers' compensation. So these are the personal loss exposure, which can be measured with the help of insurance, medical insurance, where you take life insurance or medical insurance or maybe workers' compensation insurance. Normally, factory or a company take insurance policy in the life of number of employees at the same time, so that the degree of risk can be reduced. So that is personal loss exposure, which is actually coming under the first step in personal risk management, which is identifying the loss exposure. So that is the first one, personal loss exposure. Next one is property loss exposure. What happens normally? We always have after the Kerala flood, we have a fear in our mind that maybe those flood affected areas, people who are living in the flood affected area, they will be having a fear in their mind that there can be a possibility of a flood again, or maybe people living near to the beaches, they always feel that there can be some type of a destruction to their house. So these can be always happen. Then similarly, uh, indirect losses. Indirect losses means it can be moving to another. That is, one loss is transferred to another, maybe uh, because of the loss that is incurred. You are losing the rent. Then similarly, uh, theft of property, which we have already seen. Then loss happens to the vehicles, maybe because of flood, because of water, something happened to the vehicle and we will have to repair the vehicle, the loss, that is property loss exposure. Theft of vehicle is a property loss exposure. And the insurance that is normally taken is automobile insurance, fire insurance, marine insurance, and very, very important one is intellectual property right insurance, where a property which is, or something which is actually found out by a person being stolen by somebody else. So that is actually a property loss exposure. So we have seen personal loss exposure, property loss exposure. Next one is liability loss exposure. This is normally happening because somebody is causing some type of or is doing an activity which is causing an injury to another person. So there will be a case, there is a legal liability which can be filed in the court of law. Then another can be defamation of character, which we have seen in the identity theft itself. Similarly, defamation of character. Then negligent operation of a vehicle, that is, you're causing an accident, you are harmfully affecting the life of a person because of your negligence. Then similarly, any type of a liability which is arising out of a professional activity, because maybe very, very secret information is shared by you to somebody else, maybe a person from another company, which is a legal liability. Then similarly, you will have to pay them. If you are hiring an advocate, you will have to pay them and meet the legal cost. So that is liability loss exposure. So we have seen personal loss exposure, property loss exposure, liability loss exposure. Next is income loss exposure. Income loss exposure is actually you are taking an insurance. So that means you will have to set aside a part of your income for meeting the insurance expense. Or maybe something happened to you. You are now a differently abled person. You will have to take insurance, or maybe you will have to arrange for such type of devices. So that is an income loss. Then similarly, in the case of companies, because of sickness of people, maybe a majority of the people, because of this pandemic, affected. As we have seen in Mumbai, so many Malayali nurses are being affected. So the loss is actually the hospital will be losing the services of qualified nursing staff. So that is a loss due to sickness or disability. Then similarly affecting the cash flow, the financial cash flow of the business. How? Because if there is a loss, what happens is that we'll have to spend for the loss, we will have to incur additional costs, and that will be affecting the cash flow position of the business. So we have seen personal loss exposure, property loss exposure, legal liability loss exposure, and finally income loss exposure. Actually, all these exposures are to be identified, and that is the first one to be taken. Next one is analyze the loss exposure. Analyzing the exposure, the main thing is frequency as well as the severity of the loss. This is actually the relationship between frequency and severity. If the frequency is less, then severity of the loss will be more. That means you will have to insure the loss. But if the frequency is more, that means several times it is happening, but the severity may not be, maybe less. Then it can be, it may not be insured. That is actually when you analyze the loss exposure. Then another method is retain the loss. Retaining means you can hold it, or maybe you can transfer the risk maybe to the next year. So that this is one of the way in which you can analyze the loss exposure. So we are seeing the steps in personal risk management. The first one is identifying the loss exposure. The second one is analyzing the loss exposure. Third one is selecting appropriate techniques for treating the loss exposure. What are the different methods that are to be used in order to treat the loss exposure? Avoid the risk. Avoid the risk means either try to reduce the risk, or you can try to eliminate the risk through risk control. Retain the risk or convert it for the next time, or maybe non-insurance transfers. We are not taking insurance, but we are just transferring the risk. Insurance. So this actually comes under the first module about basic concepts in risk. All these different techniques for treating the loss exposures. Next is implementing and monitoring the program periodically. Means every 2 or 3 years, there should be a constant monitoring of the program, where you will have to find out whether the exposures are being covered, whether sufficient insurance has been taken, whether it is properly covered or not. So that is implementing and monitoring the program periodically. So these are the different steps in personal risk management. The next topic that we are going to see is in risk management. What is governance? What is risk management? And what is compliance? So this is actually as part of a module. Just what is that? The idea of governance, risk management, and compliance. What is actually governance? Governance means how you manage and how you try to reduce the risk. That means how you make effectively the use of enterprise risk management. That means whether you are able to comply with whatever restrictions are given. Management. Because risk management we have already seen. It is identifying, measuring, and managing the areas of risk. So whether we are able to manage the risk or not, governance is as part of the top level. It is to be carried out, risk management. And finally, the organization shall comply in a repeated manner and try to make sure that it is at a low cost. Whatever you manage, you are able to manage the risk, then how effectively you are able to manage the risk, and whether it can be managed at a lower cost. That is actually governance, risk management. This is actually the different stages in governance, risk, and compliance process. Governance is mostly concerned about the corporate policies, which are at the top, the ethics that are to be observed. Whereas in risk management, which we know, enterprise risk management and operational is actually financial risk management. Compliance and audit will be functioning, whether we are complying according to the governance, whether it is as per stated in the objectives, whether we are managing the risk and complying with the formalities or not. The next one is insurance market dynamics. Insurance market dynamics means there are different methods in which you can provide or maybe face loss. That is by retaining the risk, that is risk retention or risk transfer. Retaining the risk means the retained losses are paid out from the past reserves or maybe by borrowings. So you are, that is retained losses. Whereas risk transfer means you are shifting the burden of losses to another party. You are transferring the risk from one person to another. Actually, this is purely a part of insurance, but it is just being touched in the syllabus as insurance market dynamics. Next, what are the factors influencing insurance market? That is actually the last part in this module. What are the factors influencing insurance market? And it is three. One is underwriting cycle. The second one is what is actually the nature of consolidation in the insurance industry. And finally, securitization of risk. We'll see the first one, underwriting cycle. Underwriting cycle means it's not purely what we see in underwriting in the case of shares of a company. It is actually concerned with the cyclical pattern of underwriting results and profitability measures in the insurance industry. How you measure the liability as well as how do you measure the profitability in insurance. That is what is actually the pattern of measurement in insurance industry, whether it is stringency pattern, whatever it may be, that is underwriting cycle. We know that there are three different types of exposures in the form of personal, property, legal liability, as well as income loss exposures. So property and insurance market will be fluctuating, and because of the underwriting standards and high premium, that market is what is called as a hard insurance market, where the underwriting norms are very strict. Whereas if it is the premium is very less, the premium that you pay for the insurance is very less, then it can be treated as a soft insurance market. So it is actually underwriting cycle means what is the extent of the premium for the insurance and what is actually the tightness or whether it is loosened or not. That is underwriting cycle. Then it is calculated with the help of a ratio, which is called as combined ratio. What is the total? What is the ratio of the paid loss? What is actually the loss that you have incurred? Any expenses that you have incurred plus any underwriting expenses. Underwriting expenses, as I have already pointed out, it can be loose as well as it can be tightened, one with high premium or low premium. If this ratio, the combined ratio, if it is greater than 1, that means the underwriting operations are unprofitable. Otherwise, it is profitable. So, we have seen earlier hard market and soft market. Actually, hard market, there is more retention of risk, and in the soft market, the insurance is at favorable terms. In the case of retention, what happens is that we are trying to adjust with the past profits or whatever reserves that we have. That is underwriting cycle. Next one is consolidation in the insurance industry. Consolidation means a private insurance company being absorbed by maybe an insurance company in the public sector. So through mergers and acquisition, because we have already seen earlier itself, the mergers and acquisition, that is one technique in where you can, which will be affecting the insurance market. Then combining the financial results of the companies, maybe as I have told you, a private insurance company, maybe if it is a subsidiary company of the public company, then it can be offsetting each other, or maybe the benefit, the potential benefit of consolidation can be, you can insurance. If it is life insurance, life is considered as the subject matter.
Okay. Nimi ma'am.
Yes.
Nimi ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, the audio on the break. Ma'am, can you repeat the slide once again, because I don't think anybody heard.
The third one is securitization of risk. Securitization of risk means where the we know about insurable interest, which is normally the interest of a person in the subject matter of insurance, which can be created in a financial instrument, which is one of the examples in the form of a catastrophe bond, which can be asked in the examination part also. What is catastrophe bond? Catastrophe bond is actually a corporate bond which permit the issuer to skip the payments if a catastrophic loss occurs. Suppose in this present situation, if something happens or if there is a pandemic, then there is a bond which permits the issuer to skip the payments. No need to make the payment. The payment can be made later on. So that is a catastrophic bond. That is securitization of risk. Then it is actually a high yielding debt instrument which help companies to raise money, especially in the insurance industry, especially in the case of any type of a disaster. These are the different factors influencing insurance market. So we have actually come to the end of the second module, which is risk management. So thank you.
Hello, ma'am.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
yes.
We have got a couple of questions. Aditya
Okay.
question is from Asjad. His question is, how do we measure the risk-bearing capacity of investor on various investments? Should I repeat?
Yes, I have heard the question. I heard the question.
Okay.
In the case of individuals, we always look at maybe suppose if it is the life insurance, you look at what is the amount, the sum that is assured. We look at the different policies that are being offered by life insurance companies and whether it is having different options. Based on that, the sum assured is fixed. So it will be fixed by the insurance company, where they will be looking at the subject matter of insurance, which is the life of the person. Actually, it depends on the scheme that they offer. What is the scheme that the insurance companies are offering? Based on that, it is fixed.
Okay, ma'am. Next question is from Rani Razak. Has asked, please name the insurance taken by companies to protect the losses incurred through activities of another employee.
Okay, activities of another employee. It is actually we are not covering this in the this module because it is only personal as well as property is purely dealing with insurance. Actually, it is not covered under risk management because here in risk management we are concerned about this topic only relating to derivatives. So we are just learning what is risk management as a concept as such, but we are using it only for the derivatives, and derivatives are seen in detail in this course.
Okay, ma'am. Next question is from Ebin Tom. Ebin has asked, what is the meaning of loss exposure?
Okay. We have already stated in the PPT itself. Loss exposure means any type of a loss which may incur. It is actually a situation where a loss may incur or may not incur, but you are expecting that there will be a loss. So we are this will be the loss in the future. That is what is called as a loss exposure.
Okay, ma'am. Next question is by Sonu Reggie.
Okay.
How compliance is related to risk management?
There are actually three things connected in risk management. One is who is actually framing or the persons who are framing at the top, that is the governance level, the strategic part, and they are actually operating it through risk management. And finally, whether we are complying with it, that is whatever is governed, the governance state, that means the top level state, whether it is being practiced or not, whether it is observed or not. That is actually related with compliance. And finally, conducting an audit to find out how much part of the maybe this through this example, that is in the case of workers, you're taking insurance in the life of the workers, then you can make sure that whether it is being provided or not, whether the fund has been allotted or not in the looking at the financial reports.
Okay, ma'am. Next question. We don't have a name, but the question is, why is the relationship between the frequency and severity negatively related?
Okay. That is actually the essence of risk management, because whenever we consider managing risk, we'll have to make a compromise. Either we'll have to look at the elimination or reduction. So you cannot have both. Similarly, in the case of frequency and severity also, the frequency, how much frequently it is incurring, we normally consider it as a repeated thing, or maybe a daily one, which we don't consider. But if it is a severe, if it is a very serious one, then we'll have to consider it to a greater extent.
Okay, ma'am, next question is by Sachin. Please explain captive insurance.
Okay. Actually, we are not covering captive insurance in this. Maybe insurance as a paper. If we are dealing with insurance as a paper, it will be dealt in captive insurance, because we are not covering insurance as such in risk management.
No more questions have come. So can we wind up the session, ma'am?
Yes.